and I will start my lovely conversation with Derrick. So Derrick, you're up in Manchester and I'm down in Cornwall, so we could barely be further apart, but isn't it wonderful to be able to catch up on this virtual means? How are you today?
You know, I'm too fabulous. I mean, I started the day right, and I hope most people who are here actually joined in the exercise class, because that's the perfect way to start any day.
I have to say I agree. I joined your exercise class, and it's the first of your classes that I've ever done, but it was immense fun. I love your music, love the energy, and it's a really good start to a Saturday. So I have to say I definitely recommend it. And we were just chatting just now. I'm 45, don't mind saying. Derrick is somewhat, you're 67, and you 68. Do how many exercise classes a day? 68. How many? How many exercise classes a day are you kind of doing in your day-to-day life?
It really varies, because I mean, I was very blessed in that since the lockdown, lots of companies have got in touch, and they're all wanting me to do little 12-minute segments for their staff, together with a 12-minute conversation on how we can cope with all the different pandemics that we're all having to cope with in our lives. Not just what's going on at the moment, but basically what's going on is kind of the foundation stone for so many things in our lives. And most of us have been through hurricanes, whether it's the loss of a loved one, whether it's that job we didn't get, that thing that didn't work out. Those are all pandemics. And so my message has been that there's an upside to everything, and we are learning so much from this lockdown. And I think it's important that we take note, because that can be the foundation stone that what makes us better for the future. And so, yeah, it's been an interesting year. So like yesterday I was doing Google, which went out to as far as Singapore, Australia, and India. Midday, I did Europe. And then in the evening, I did America. And I've got to repeat that for the next 3 months. A lot of tech companies in the same zone, I'm having to do that. So it's every day I'm training 2 or 3 times a day.
That's impressive, I have to say, very impressive.
Thank you.
And so where do you get your energy from? What is it, Weetabix in the mornings? What's your regime? How do you keep tip top?
You know, it's quite interesting, because I've always said to people, you know, if you're doing something you love, it's amazing how you can keep going until all hours of the night, and you get up after a few hours sleep and you feel fine. When you're in a zone where you're not in the right space mentally, it all becomes a real chore. And I believe that I'm blessed, because when you go way back to the years of when it was really, really difficult, when, you know, I was homeless, or had my daughter on my arm, and we're outside the homeless family unit begging for somewhere to actually sleep. It kind of makes you really kind of feel humbled, but also it makes you want to tell people that better times do come, and that what you're going through is only the prelude to better things. And if you believe in that, then it means that that positive energy comes through, and when you're ready for it, it's there. So I have every reason to smile every single day. You know, no matter what happens, I get up and I feel good, the fact that I'm able to get up, because there's so many people who are maybe not in the same position as myself. And so we do all need to count our blessings. And if we do, we then have every reason to smile and be happy every single moment of every single day.
It's really interesting. So you touched on homelessness there, and we've just done the Eden Sleep Out on Thursday night. So people sleeping out in their gardens or sofas, in terms of sofa surfing or garden sheds, because this year we couldn't host it at the Eden Project. But homelessness is something that's touched you, and actually coming from that to where you are now with an MBE, is that something you ever imagined would happen? And tell us a bit about your journey.
Well, you know, let me just say this to you. I think most of us in life, no matter what age we are far removed from anything that we ever imagined that we're going to be doing. I mean, I think the only industry I've ever noticed where people tend to be doing it and they didn't fall into it because they chose it is when it comes to HR. Anyone who's into HR always seems to be someone who actually left college, university. That's exactly where they wanted to go. But for me, if I had listened to my careers officer in 1966, I would actually just be working in an office, and that was it, because that was the determination. But I did a whole load of series of different things, as we all do, out of necessity. And for me, it was a whole sequence of events that really kind of started from my boys' brigade upbringing, going to church, and that whole kind of Christian upbringing kind of put you in a zone where certain things were kind of allowed, or you stay clear of certain company and stuff like that. And whenever you ventured away from that kind of upbringing, it had a negative effect on where you were going next. But if you stay true to that upbringing, what happened was that, yes, I did make, it was not a mistake. I mean, my girlfriend at age 20 got pregnant. And so I ended up looking after my daughter from age 22. So my 20s disappeared. It became one of looking at plaiting hair and reading stories and getting up early to get on the bus and then dropping off the childminder, and from the childminder going to work, and then from work going back to pick her up, and then home, and we're living in one room, or we're homeless and we having to go through all that. So, but I view all that as been a blessing, because when I look at her now, she's 48, right? And I just think she's got me 4 grandchildren. And so there's a real blessing in me being involved in that. And so the things that spurred me on to bring me where I am is related to that as being part of the groundwork, not being able to go out to the discos and all that kind of stuff in my 20s, right? Having to be far more controlled and responsible. And also it's just a sequence of events that led me to the place, right, where in fact I ended up in your screen. And those events really started because one day in 1983, I wandered into a leisure center. I was into karate in a big way, and I heard all this noise. Like this noise coming in the house at the moment. My daughter, sorry about that. I heard all this noise coming from a room at the leisure center in Harrow. I wandered around, and there were about 100, felt like 200 women exercising, and they were doing what was called pop mobility, movement to music. And I was transfixed. It was like a light bulb moment. And I thought, my goodness, look at this. Now, the years before that, I was doing everything. I was on a building site. I've been working at Tesco's. I was stacking shelves. I was cleaning our toilets at CNA. I was doing all these names from the past, right? And I was transfixed. And I started doing, I persuaded 2 ladies at the front to come and run some classes from me. And I quickly went away and found a church hall, set it up, and every Tuesday night they were in there running the classes for me. And I was at the back learning all the moves. But I felt I was on a journey. And while this was going on, I thought, you know what, I could do this on my own. So I got rid of them after 2 months, and I set up the classes on my own. Derrick Evans comes to town, and my classes built and built and built to the point where most evenings you were getting 100, 120 people coming to these classes from all over. People who travel 15, 20 miles to come to my classes. And I knew I was onto something because I was having the time of my life. I was starting to make a living, so I was able to look after my daughter well and stuff like that. And then it just spread, and people started taking notice. The Heart Foundation noticed and heard about my classes, asked me to go around the whole country talking to people about the benefits of exercise. So we had a banner headline, which was "Exercise for Life." And I would go into these leisure centers, and all these crowds of people would come in, and we'd just talk about the importance of looking after yourself, and it's never too late. And I was talking to people who are older than me at the time, and I had no qualifications other than the desire to promote wellness. And this is 1985, 86. And then one day I got a call from Gloria Hunniford, had a Sunday show called Sunday Sunday. And I was invited to go on that. And so I went on dressed as a sergeant major, and I had all these guys, right, and drilled them like a sergeant major. And at the end of it, she said, well, would you like to come and train me? So I started training her, and she kept saying to me, you ought to be on television. And so it went on, and the rest of it, honestly, it's a long story, but it's just a whole sequence of events that happened, right? And it's me not giving up. It's me persevering. It's me realizing that you can't wait for your ship to come in. You've got to swim out to it. No one owes you anything. You can come up with loads of excuses why you're not getting things, but it's down to you. And if you keep pushing and pushing, they say if you sit outside for long enough, you'll eventually.
Fantastic. I'm losing
Looks like
Derrick.
it's all frozen.
Oh, you're back. You're back.
Maybe better. Okay. Hello. Okay. Let me keep talking and assume that you can hear me. And so I'm saying, look, well, I'd like to train him in 1993. So I went and started training him. I'll be back now because it froze for a while there. Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Are we back? Are you hearing me?
You are
okay?
back. You're back. Yeah. All good.
I'm sorry. I don't know where we got up to, but it looks like the internet's playing up. BT's messing around. Are you hearing me okay now? Good. Okay. Let me just quickly continue and take that story right to where you guys met me. In 1992, Eamon Holmes got in touch. He says to me, would you like to come and train me? I started training him. Before I know it, Lorraine Kelly used to come down. There used to be a weather girl called Sally Mean, another weather person called Simon Biaggi, and they all were training with me. And then one day I'm sitting in reception and this guy walks in with a stomach that was slightly larger than mine. So I got up and walked over to him, prodded him in the belly and said, you need to sort that out. I found out later on he was the program controller of GMTV. And he stormed off into the building. Next day I got my exercise bike and wheeled it into his office and left it. And then a few days later I went back to him and I said, you need to use that. I persuaded him to start using, and he said, anyone who could persuade me to start exercising should be on television. But at the time, the advertiser says, no, we don't want a black man on television doing fitness. It had to be a white lady with 2 kids, but I didn't give up. And one day I'm in the office waiting for Eamon, and I heard this lady on the phone saying, we want the Keep Fit Association of Great Britain to come and run some fitness classes on television. And I went on my knees in front of her and I said, please put the phone down. And she put the phone down. I said to her, you got to have me. And she says, I know all about you, but the advertisers don't want it. I said, no, you're making a mistake if you go elsewhere. I'm the man, I can do it. She says, have you done television before? I said, not really. She says, well, what would you do? So I showed her what I would do. I said, I'll be fine. She said, but you need to practice and rehearse. I said, I can't rehearse. I don't rehearse how I teach. I just have a library of exercises. I can do whatever. And she said, okay, all right, leave it with me. I'll see what we could do. 3 weeks later, she called me up and she said, the young lady who's doing fitness at the moment is going on holiday. Would you like to have a go? I said, yes. 23rd of August, I went down and I did it live and I did it my way. I didn't rehearse it. I directed the camera to say, come with me, look at the bicep muscle working, come with me, you're going on the floor. And the public, thank God, I really appreciate it. You liked it. Because since then, 1993, that's what I've been doing.
Well, see, I was a student in 1993, so I very much remember you beaming into my living room as a student, and you were new and you were fresh, and it was just so different. So, I mean, did you feel you must have felt you were pushing against the grain there? And I think it's really interesting to see how Black Lives Matter is still something that's a real concern for us today, and we're some years on from when you started. I mean, that's 20 years ago. So you were a real innovator in that space in terms of breaking through, and I think that's fantastic. But that must have taken so much resilience. Where did you draw that from?
Well, it's the desire to never give up, you know, because the point is, I'll always remember when I first moved to London, and I got a job working for what was then Green Shield Stamps, and the older people here will remember Green Shield Stamps. And in 1974, they set up Argos Distributors, and my job was to work as a merchandiser, doing all the merchandise for both those companies. They're owned by the same man, Mr. Tompkins. And I was living in a council flat over in Finsbury Park that was given to me by the council, but I had to find a bed and breakfast. So I called up this lady who was in Harrow and I said, look, I need a bed and breakfast for the evening. And she said, fine, it's £1.50, £1.50 if only. Anyhow, so I booked in, and when I arrived at the door, she looked at me and she says, oh, okay, I suppose you better come in then. So I went in and she said, I put my coat on the bed. She said, no, take your coat off the bed and take your shoes off. She said, by the way, you can't stay just for one night. You have to stay for 3 nights minimum, and it's £3.50 a night. So I said, fine. I said, fine to everything. At the end of days, and she'd come in the morning, she'd almost throw the breakfast at me, and then she left. And 3 days later, just before I was ready to leave, she walked in and she said to me, Mr. Evans, you know, when you arrived, I was really frightened. I said, well, I didn't know that you were frightened. She says, well, my son always told me a black man's going to arrive on my door one night and I'm going to be in the home alone and I'm going to feel real scared to let a black man in here. She said, I was scared. She said, because all I'd read about was a black person in the newspapers, never good news. So she said, but look, after you've been here and getting to know you, you can come as often and stay as often as you like. There's 2 ways you can look at things. You can say, look, I'm going to have a chip on my shoulder about my color and stuff like that. Or you can say, you know what? I've got to convince you and make you understand, right, that I have the same blood running through my veins as you. And if you're on the ground frothing at the mouth and you need my blood group, I'm going to give you your blood group. And in fact, if you've ever had to have a transfusion, the chances are you may have had my blood, because I used to give my blood out quite often. So really, there's no difference between us other than what we see. And that's why sometimes the world needs to be blind for a while, because if we're blind for a while, we don't see our differences, right? And I believe that what I need to do is, and I've come through the whole zone where the only time you saw black people on television was reading the news or being a comedian. And I believe I've been given the keys to be able to get an audience which is varied. I mean, I speak to people who are from different ethnic background. And I'm probably one of the few people on Instagram, Twitter, all those things who don't get anything negative said. Because I believe if you show a positive side to everything, people can't complain about it. You can't go, oh, he said that again. What they will do is they'll embrace what you're talking about. And I believe I've been really blessed to be given these keys to be able to talk to people just like we're doing now and say to them, right, love yourself. Be pleased with who you are. When you look in that mirror every morning, just go, wow, it's a blessing. I'm talking to my accountant at the moment who's dying. He's got cancer. He was diagnosed 6 months ago. It's spread, it's masticating, it's down in his liver, and he's dying. And this morning I was talking to him after my class, and I said to him, I can't say anything to you. All I can say right now is make peace. Make peace with everybody. Call up everyone who you care about. And I say that to everyone now. Make peace with everybody who matter in your life. Make peace with someone that you haven't spoken to in years. Make peace with that person who said something bad to you. Make peace. Be the one who's bigger than them. Be the one that actually goes, look, I know you're under pressure. I know that life hasn't been good. But if you need someone to talk to, I'll be here for you. Right? Be someone who says, well, I know that I can tell from just the way you're speaking today that you're not happy, but I'm giving you permission to be sad. I'm giving you permission, right, to actually go have a bad day. I'm giving you permission to feel the way you feel. But if you need me, I'm here. And the world needs to stand up like that. I'm sorry, this is a soapbox for me.
No,
The world needs to be like that a little bit. That what we need to do is we need to say to people, right, there are no differences between you and I. And if you need my help, I will give you. But if you abuse my help, fine, I'll walk away. But we need to all just make time for each other. But it all starts with you loving yourself. And yes, I've created this persona because I wanted to get through the door so you understand that there's more to me than just the physical side. I'm very much about the whole well-being thing and ensuring that we go a little bit of fitness, a little emotional strength, mental strength, financial strength. We need all that fitness around us to make us better. And if you look around your room now, everything in your room and in your home that doesn't cost money is an illustration of how rich you are.
That's very, very wise words, very wise words. I mean, everything you say speaks to the values we have in the Eden Project communities. I think the idea that we can connect with people, that there are no differences, that we should be bringing people together, and there's huge warmth and compassion in that. There's a question just in on the chat around where do you find your huge capacity for that kindness and compassion. It's a really inspiring thing for people, I think, and that's one of the reasons I believe you've been so successful, because you offer more than just exercise. You offer ways of helping people feel better all round. So where do you get that from? You know, is that something someone taught you, or?
I tell you something, Lindsay, there's a wonderful university that all of us go to, and it's called the University of Life. And when you experience things, right, as I said earlier, it's the building block for what makes you who you are. And so everything I talk about is things that I've lived through. I know that just because my dad used to beat me doesn't make me a beater. It makes me want to cuddle my children every minute. It makes me want to have my daughter, my youngest daughter, right, is 23, and I want to cuddle every time I see her. Every time she walks down the stairs, I just want to shower her with love and affection. Because my dad was the person who said, well, the way I express my love is I give you a roof, I put food, clothes on your back, and I spank you if you do something naughty. In fact, you spank you before you do something naughty, right? I don't believe in that. I honestly believe that, in fact, I can empower her to always recognize what's right and what's wrong. And I think in the same way, right, I believe that I can say to everyone right now that you have a wonderful choice today. Your New Year's resolution starts today. It doesn't start in January, it starts today. And your New Year's resolution should be this. I have learned over the past 9 months, right, the importance of certain things in my life. I've learned that it's not important that new jumper hanging up. It's not important that new car, that new television set. None of those are important. There's actually only 5 things that really matter. And this is where and you ask me, I'm going to tell you this is where I've learned it. And I thought long and hard about it. Number 1, roof over your head is wonderful. How do I know? Because I've had a situation where I didn't have a roof over my head. So you got a roof over your head, that's a real blessing. You should be standing up and doing cartwheels, no matter what your age. Number two, do you have food in the fridge? I've had days when I was hungry, when I had to make a choice between feeding me and feeding my daughter. And we've all had days. Some of us have done it where we tried it for a while, not eating. How difficult was that? Well, imagine someone who don't get the chance for a full meal. So if you have food in your fridge, you're twice blessed. Number three, do you have your health? Shame on anybody who don't look after themselves. Shame on anybody who takes their health for granted. Shame on you if what you do is I'm working hard for the future and saving for the future. The only thing you're sure about in life is right now. And tomorrow comes along is a wonderful birthday. So you must take your health for granted. Never take it for granted. And what you must do right now and every day is do something, even if it's only standing up and sitting down 10 times. That's you saying, listen, my health is important. The fourth thing is love is important. The love for someone else or someone loving you, right? Or you just loving yourself, right? That is critical. I've learned how important that is over this past 8 months, right? And so therefore, the woman I've been with for 30 years is the most important thing in my life, right? And I love her unconditionally. But the grass on the other side, too many of us look at the grass on the other side and go, oh, it's wonderful and green, and we go there. So if you go there and you come home and you find your grass has been mowed and your grass is looking good, serve you, right? Shame on you for neglecting your grass. And the fifth thing is, and this is important, we have a choice. You have a choice right now, whether you're happy, whether you're sad, whether you eat or you don't eat, whether you wash your hands for 20 seconds or you drink the water. You can make a choice. There are people in the world who can't decide to wash their hands, they have to drink it, right? So don't anybody tell me that they are poor or they don't have choice. You, listen, I'm so, it's such a soapbox for me, this, right? Because I believe as a place and where we are so rich. And that's why, to make us even richer, love and share that with other people. I'm talking about share the knowledge that you have. Your life can be an example to everybody out there. Everything you've been through can be an example. But lots of us are right near the edge at the moment because we have been stretched like this, like an elastic band. And the government releases it a little bit and then they stretch us again. So let me just address those people just for one moment. Let me say this to you. Every autumn, leaves, and you've heard me say the trees lose their leaves, but they still stand up tall because in the spring, they blossom again. So we're going to go through that. And we're like the clothes that you put in the washing machine, right? It's going round and round with all the soap powder and everything. It's been pushed and pulled and twisted and spun out dry. But when we open that door at the end of the cycle and pull out the clothes, they're cleaner than they were before. That's how we're going to be. As long as we listen to what we have learned over these five, well, I can't even count the amount of months now. I think it's about 7 months now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? But we'll come out better for it, right? And how do I know? And why do I stay the way I am? It's because I love being happy and I love being able to share the joy.
I think that's a massive inspiration for people. I think, and also, it's, as you sort of say, it's a choice. So it's not that you're drawing on some well that the rest of us don't have. It's something that we can choose day to day to be happy or not. And I must admit, as someone who, I get my energy from other people. I love being with other people, and lockdown curtails that. And it's been harder. It has been harder. But I think it's really heartwarming to hear you sort of talk the way that you do, and I think a lot of people can learn from the kind of things that you've said today. And I'm getting some really lovely feedback in the chat there about the trees and that analogy and how that works for everyone. So, and the washing machine. So thank you for those. And I can't let a conversation with you go without talking about your persona as Mr Motivator and how you came up with that. Your amazing lycra. I was very envious this morning that mine was kind of purple and white and black, and yours was like multicolored. So how can we all get a piece of that? Because that's like sunshine in a lycra suit.
Yeah.
How do we get a piece of that?
How do you get a piece of that? Well, you can get onto Tikiboo, Tikiboo. They do my full range. What I used to do is every January go all the way down to Miami, and there was this wonderful fabric store which has thousands and thousands of fabric. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm rolling around on the floor in all this lycra, and I'd choose 50 shades of it, or different styles, and I take that to Jamaica, and then I've got a guy down there who makes up my suits, and that's what I've been doing. But because this year got kind of messed up, I've joined forces with Tiki Boo, and they're now doing all my stuff. And you can get unitards, leotards, you can get headbands, you can get all kinds of stuff. Everything with the suit I was wearing today had all different kind of words on there that lift you up and make you feel good. You got these big bum bags you can get, so you can carry phones and stuff in it and things like that. And they have on here, I look so good, I get wicked, say yeah. But listen, Biff, I know we're running out of time because good things always come to an end, right? But you know something, we're not given a good or bad life. We're given a life, yeah? And it's up to all of us to make it good or bad, right? And so there'll be young people listening now. And in your household, all of us need to be a real example to them. And every time we think to ourselves, we're going to get annoyed or upset about something, just bite your lip for a bit and count your blessings. Because right now, having the children run around your legs is wonderful. Because you know how it is with children, how we always can't wait for that first step that they make. Right? It's just wonderful joy. And then as soon as they're running around too much, we go, don't you ever sit down, all right? No, treasure it and savor every moment of it, because they're going to grow up real quickly. But also get on the phone at the end of this and call up all the people that matter in your life. Have a tick box, have a list of people that you need to call either every week or every other week. And even if it's only to say, Johnny, Jenny, you know, you're entitled to feel the way you feel. If you're upset, I'm here for you. I will have a midnight cup of tea with you if you need it, right? And I'll just be here for you. Because sometimes people just need that bit of permission, right? To know that you're there for them, because we all handle stress differently. And sometimes your best friend could be going through it and we don't really realize. So look out for those little signs where maybe they're not eating the way they eat or not as up as they normally are. But don't force them to speak about it. Just say to them, listen, I'm here for you. You're entitled to feel the way you feel, right? Call me whenever you're ready. Call me at midnight and I will always answer the phone for you. And if we all do that, right, I believe that we can help each other through this situation that we can't control, right? When we get in the car, we put the keys in, we're in control. This pandemic, we're not in control, right? But just treat it as something that's going to make us be better in the end, yeah?
Fantastic. We've had a couple of, there's a lovely birthday shout out for you. So was your birthday recent?
On Sunday of last week, yes.
Oh, well, we should
get the Lamborghini.
But a very happy birthday from everyone watching today. And Thank also you. Somebody asking, admiring your art behind you, and asking who the artist might be.
My wife, right?
Your wife?
Yeah. She does all kinds of things, right? I mean, she's just absolutely amazing, her stuff. And it's just when the mood gets her, and she does things like some of these, she has fabric. So where the hair is, that could be fabric that she's actually put on it. It's all her stuff that she does. I mean, she's an amazing talent.
Yeah.
And I'm down here in the kitchen. The kitchen is my domain. She's in the middle floor, right? And then our daughter is on the top floor. So we all have our space, right? But then we get together. When we're eating, we don't ever have television on. We just sit around and we just talk about life. But I want to ask you this question, everybody out there. Do you think that a paper cut is a dying tree's last revenge?
That's a great question. I would imagine so, because I loved printing. I found actually during lockdown, I used to print everything because I just prefer reading on paper. And lockdowns meant I haven't got a printer, so I can't print anything. And actually, yes, I have had no paper cuts for many months now. So there's got to be a lesson in there.
There's got to be a lesson there, yes.
And I love the fact your wife gets involved in your exercise sessions, and the fact that accessibility thing of her being there showing how you can do the same exercises with lower impact is really, really important, that accessibility thing.
It is. And that's why I say, look, there are some great fitness instructors out there, but unfortunately, they miss one essential element. There is a bridge between you doing something and not doing something, or wanting to do something that needs to be filled. And the only way you're going to fill it is that I've got to make it so that when you're sitting in the chair at home, you think to yourself, you know what? I can tap my feet to this music, it's nice, or I can move my head, right? Once I've done that, I've technically got you making that move towards bridging that gap between doing something and not doing something. And I think that's what instructors need to do. It's not just the physical side. We need to get instructors using words and images. And look, it's like right now, I could say to everybody right now, do you want to improve the way you sit, the way you stand, the way you view the world? Follow me. Just put in between your shoulder blades an imaginary orange. I want you to gently squeeze out the juice of that orange with your shoulder blades. Automatically, the world looks different.
That's fantastic. It has been an absolute pleasure, Derrick, talking to you today and hearing your story, and you're so motivational. And I, for one, will definitely be tuning into your, is it Saturday, Monday, Saturdays and Wednesdays you do live sessions? Yeah. So I will definitely be tuning in for some of those.
Yeah. Yeah, please do, because it's every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday morning. It's free. Or you do have to actually just drop me an email. You can find me and I'll send you the code. And we can ask you to make a donation to a homeless charity. And we're hoping just before Christmas to actually just give a load of money to a homeless charity so they can get some people off the streets for Christmas.
That would be fantastic. Thank you very much, Derrick. And just to sort of wrap things up before you guys head off, there's loads more happening on the festival right through to the end of today. We've got Joe Brand speaking later. We've got some music from Sound of the Siren. So if you had a little groove along this morning, it's a bit more folky, but you might find yourself doing some more gentle moves along to that. And we've got some the Human Library is coming up, which is a great session to go to find out how to unjudge people. So that whole thing that you were talking about, Derrick, where there's no difference between any of us. I think it's really important that we remember that, and that other people, everyone's on the inside looking out is the way I always think of it. You know, we are basically all the same. We're all on the inside looking out. And so there's loads of sessions you can catch up with, including the power of positivity at 5 o'clock, if anyone needs another dose of that. So thank you, everyone. There is a little survey link that has gone into the chat there. So if anyone wants to tell us how they are finding the festival, finding this session, that would be really helpful. Thank you. And also, if you want to donate either to Derrick's charity or indeed to the Eden Project, if you've enjoyed what you've seen today, then the link for that is there as well. So thank you very much, Derrick. You've been an absolute inspiration and a real pleasure to talk to. And I very much hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you. And I must give you one little life lesson before I go, is this. Be crazy, be stupid, be silly, be weird, be whatever, because life is too short to be anything but happy.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Derrick.
My pleasure.
Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Be well. Thank you.